put together so that 4 years from now, that next landfill cell can be constructed. We're going to be looking at another $1 million, and we've only got we've got 362,000 set aside right now. So we've got to come up with another $700,000, and if we cannot do it from the net revenues of the landfill, we need to come up with some other long-term solution. Another solution or another thing that can be considered is somehow closing this gap between this shortfall of the $305,000. So that's where we are today, and I would stand for questions or suggestions or ideas to begin with.
I have a question. Your Indian Hills and your Central, some of the smaller spots, how many customers are we flowing through there in these 3 days?
There's an average there where it shows the days per week. There's an average number per day that come in there.
So 52 a day. Out of how many people in that area? I'm just trying to see if, is it better to, I mean, you hate to do this, but in order to save, I mean, you're gonna have to cut somewhere.
Okay.
Maybe shut one, because, I mean, and they're just gonna have to come to the northern part.
That's certainly an option.
Do you see what I'm saying?
And Commissioner, we have talked at length about what might be our recommendations for perhaps the best option, which would continue to provide the best services for county customers. Adrienne Ridges is the field service supervisor, and she's here this evening, and she did this research over the past 2 years and has come up with these figures. A recommendation that we might have, if you want to consider a curtailment of services, would be something along the line of perhaps closing the southern facility at Mountain Air 1 day a week, the Punta de Agua facility 1 day a week, the Tahiti facility 1 day a week, the Central facility 1 day a week, and the Hills and Valleys, Indian Hills 1 day a week.
Joseph, have you thought about that? I mean, if you close these, I can see in cutting cost, if you close these, what's the potential of some of our arroyos starting to fill up?
Yep. That's a good point. That's a good question. Certainly, stations that have a minimal number of customers, 35 customers a day, it would not be an imposition on those facilities to consolidate to 2 days a week. It'd be a little more inconvenient for the customer that maybe here that's used to coming on Tuesday, and now he has to come on Thursday or Saturday to the Estancia station. I think maybe where you're going is the reality that we can cut back in services, but the amount of waste that's generated is the same. And it still has to be collected, and it still has to be hauled to the landfill, and that disposal still has to be paid at the landfill. So those costs are not going to change. Now, Commissioner Tapia, if we did something along the lines of that recommended curtailment, cutting out 5 station days, that would be 1 employee that would be laid off. So that would be a saving of about $30,000.
Question, where you have the 3 days a week, are these opened on the same days? Or can you look at alternating you know, if say, Edgewood was opened up for 2 days a week, and then the, following 2 days Indian Hills, and using the same employees to give the employees that you have, maybe a little bit more of a work week than cutting everybody down to, you know, maybe 2 days.
And
or 3 days.
that would be our recommendation, is that if we could look at a pattern like that, we could lay off one person and still have the rest of the stations staffed by the current staff that we have. One of the requirements of this type of operation is you have to staff these stations on weekends. So each one of our stations is open either on a Saturday or on a Sunday. The station at Moriarty is open both Saturday and Sunday. You know, my hand is off to Adrienne to be able to put together a staffing pattern where we've got weekends covered, and you know, and still have full-time work for everybody.
Can I submit another alternative? My idea was just a half a day, like a half a day at Southern, and move for the other half a day. And, you know, they tell the customers that, well, we're only gonna be open in the afternoon, not on this day. The people that come on that day would probably still come on that day, if it's a light day. Do a half day and still maintain the same number of days, remain one position.
Commissioner Freiberger, if I may have a few questions. Mr. Ellis and Chairman Williams, members of the board, certainly this is your area of expertise, and so I'm kind of doubtful that you're looking for an answer from us. I think you guys have probably come up with several solutions. So do you have, other than what's been mentioned so far, other ideas that you'd like us to consider? Or is it your wish that we take some time to bring some ideas to the table as well?
Commissioner, I can tell you some of the ideas that have been floated.
Okay.
One is a general fund allocation from the county. If that,
And the amount of the shortfall, or how would you come about the dollar amount, and what, I mean, I'm certainly you've considered that, so what is the recommendation?
and my guess, Commissioner, is that it would be a combination of strategies, a part of which would be a certain allocation from general fund. Perhaps a curtailment of services or a cutback in services. Beyond the one position, it would really, I think it would be a strain on county customers. And this board looked very closely at doing just that, cutting that one position. However, they didn't want to do it without your blessing, because you're going to be getting phone calls just like we're getting phone calls. If we have stations closed for 5 stations closed for 1 day each, or if we have half days closed here and half days closed there, so that we can save on payroll and benefits. You really need to be involved in that decision. So a general fund allocation might be one. Another that certainly has merit is for the last shortfall, the county stepped up. The county manager wrote a CDBG grant for $500,000 for that liner. The question is could that be an option, that the county might be able to participate with a CDBG grant, or maybe back-to-back grants, perhaps starting out with a planning grant. But if the county were able to bring that as a resource, that would alleviate the need to take this 331,000, to take $100,000 out of that and continue to set it aside into the capital development fund.
Ladies and gentlemen, the commission, I'd like to have one observation to add another component of context here. You probably connected the dots with the service debt that we have for the cell 3, which is $75,000 a year. The time horizon on that payment extends out probably 4 to 6 years, maybe even 7 years beyond the cell's useful life, which means that as a practical matter, the second component of our problem, what we're discussing now, is the short-term cash flow problem. The real difficulty is that if we have to start construction of another cell, which means we'll have to finance it, we have this overlapping condition in which we're still paying for the cell that is no longer in use for a significant amount of time, which adds quite a bit of a burden. If we just go with the current allocation for debt, which is $75,000 a year, roughly, if we finance the oncoming cell, it would be about the same. So our service debt then would go to $150,000 a year. That's the real long-term hard rocks to get over, is that we have clearly a need to reevaluate the whole equation of how this is going. So that's the next tier of the problem. Our short-term problem here, we can probably work out. In that context, what we really like, it's such a long-term problem that I think most of the board feels that we really like elected officials to weigh in with ideas and understand the concept that we have this long-term finance problem for this basic required need that we have in the county and the region. So that's my main point here to consider, is that the real bigger one is this long-term finance issue.
And you say that's another 6 to 7 years?
Well, depending on where, our trade-off to resolve our short-term cash flow problem is trading space at far below the cost of producing new space. So we can solve the problem. We're taking this on a short-term basis as soon as we can eliminate it. Maybe the economy will improve, cash flow will improve, that would be nice. But 4 to 5 years out, we're going to have to finance a new cell. And we'll still have a considerable amount of time to pay for the last one.
How much of the 75,000, to break it down, is interest on the loan?
It's a 3% interest, but the loan actually is a 20-year loan, and it's 2 years old.
So we have 18 years left for
We have,
75,000.
and
Positive outcome.
Yeah. 7 years is very much more positive than 18.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
an optimist.
Okay. That shot my theory on.
Commissioner, the other aspect of that is our borrowing capacity right now is nil. There's no borrowing that we can do on net system revenues at New Mexico Finance Authority because there are no net system revenues. If we were to go to the Environment Department again for another facility loan, they would look at this and say, well, the landfill's generating enough money for to carry even $300,000 worth of debt service, but overall the agency doesn't have that money available. So the Environment Department is not going to loan any money either.
Go ahead, I'm sorry. Mr. Ellis, Mr. Williams, so then is this entity, and I apologize for not knowing this answer, but is it eligible for capital outlay allocations from the legislature?
We are, and if I may historically go back, Madam Chairman, for 10 years ago, I actually did the manual calculations on this, which was just like a one-time snapshot in time, and showed the county commission how the county solid waste management system was being carried by the landfill. And so this is something that's, it's been a long-term issue.
Do you have a number count of how many members? How many countywide?
County accounts, they're about 4,000.
4,000. And the monthly fee? I know I pay my bill every month, but I pay $3 and it's a lump sum.
It's about $40 a month.
It's 40 a quarter.
I'm sorry, $40 a quarter. I would like it to be $40 a month. No, I meant,
So that was the unmentioned option then.
well, what I can tell you is that this board has not recommended any county fee increase. And to get back to the other question is, yes, we are eligible for capital outlay allocations. And early on, when I showed that disparity to the county commission, it really wasn't a big deal because we were getting capital outlay allocations. And there was a year that Representative King had gotten $250,000 for us for construction. So we can get that. Frankly, I don't know what the prospects are.
Sure. I just wanted to know if it was an option.
We are eligible.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, like Joseph, state commissioners, like Joseph stated, the board didn't want to do an increase, but everybody's dancing around it. Let's not dance around it anymore. It may become to where, it may get to where we have to do an increase. We're not entertaining it right now, but don't set that one out of your mind. And that's one of the reasons why we're having this meeting, is to try to find different ways without doing that to solve these problems. The city of Moarity had to do a 2.5% increase in their water bill because we kept falling behind and behind and behind. And if something happens, like a major pump goes out, we have to go get a loan. And what we're trying to do is ease into this to where if something does happen, then we don't have to go get a loan. But like Joseph stated, we don't want to do the increase, but don't put that out of your mind, please. Let's not bounce around the vehicle. It may happen.
That's why I was asking.
That's where I thought you were going with that.
All right, thank you, Mr. Urban, for, just basically putting it out there because the Hica Water Association last year had to double their rates from 20 to 40. And it was hard to take, but, it was a needed service. You need water, you need to make sure that you can sustain.
And people on budgets, they can't hardly handle a big increase, but if you ease into it, they can sort of figure that into their budget.
What type of compromise would the board be willing to consider as far as if there was an increase to members? I know that there is considerable amount of complaints from members who have property in the county but do not utilize the service. Are there some concessions that could be made to where we look at the overall billing strategies so that we can, kind of do some give and take? Because I still don't really know how to explain that to people who don't actually use the service but still have to pay for it. Or maybe you could explain that to me this evening so that I can go out with a better response.
This is a question that comes into our office every day. And the structure of the ordinance was that this is a burden that needs to be carried by every residential property owner in the county because it's a utility that's generated by residences. And a residence might be vacant, for a period of time, but it also can be occupied, in most cases pretty readily. And so the county commission at that time that the ordinance was passed felt like if this solid waste management fee were spread equitably across the board of residential property owners, that was the best way to to set up and fund the operation.
Now, the 4,000 customers, that's county residents, not inclusive of the citizens of Moriarty or Estancia.
That's correct.
How do you collect from those?
Thank you.
Does the city pay a fee, or do you collect, how do you collect from the residents in the townships?
The residents of the municipalities are not subject to the management fee, solid waste management fee of the ordinance. The municipalities provide their own solid waste collection services.
And that goes into the same
It
pit?
goes into the city finances. We charge each and every customer a fee every month based on the size of the container they have for their weekly pickup. We contribute to the Solid Waste Authority our environmental gross receipts tax that goes directly to the Solid Waste Authority.
Collect from the
Plus our
county.
customers, if they have any additional above and beyond garbage over what's picked up weekly, they purchase a tip ticket to take the additional garbage to the convenience stations and dump. And they have to have that ticket in order to get into the convenience stations. They don't get a sticker like the county customers get, which allows them to dump a certain amount each week. They have to purchase a tip ticket to take in the excess garbage to the convenience station.
Okay, now the fee that you collect from the municipality, the residents in the municipality,
Yes, sir.
and then you say that the Estancia Valley Waste collects the environmental,
They intercept our environmental gross receipts tax.
and how does that weigh compared to the fees you collect? How does that offset? Is that even? I mean,
No, sir.
so which is greater?
The fees I collect from my customers.
So, I mean, there's part of the problem right there,
Well,
is that,
No, because they pay us, and then we also pay the Solid Waste Authority per ton to dispose of the garbage. So if I look at our tipping fees that I pay you, in addition to the environmental gross receipts tax, then that's going to be greater than what I
Okay.
collect from my customers.
okay. But then you didn't say about the tonnage fee.
I'm sorry, I thought
Okay.
when Joseph explained that earlier.
I was trying to cut in, but I didn't want to interrupt. I knew that piece was missing.
Yeah.
The municipalities, they hire a private hauler, and that private hauler goes to the landfill,
That's
and
where
then
they
we
dispose.
bill City of Moriarty and Town of Estancia for what they use in the landfill.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
If Mr. Ellis, if I could, this might help you explain where the city of Moriarty's at, Mr. Fryberger. We go in we get a loss, the difference, every time. Right now, the shortfall in 9 months between what we pay, what we collect, and what we pay the tipping fees is $8,280.90 in 9 months. That's the shortfall. So we got to take that out of general fund and kick it in to bring that back up.
So it appears, I mean, sometimes you have to talk to me like a 5-year-old, and sometimes I think like one. But it appears that not only do we need to look at raising our fees, but also to offset. I mean, if the municipalities are also coming up with a shortfall, then we need to take a closer look to where we can even that, to where it's an overall fee increase, to where we can bring the short revenue up to balance.
Well, the town of Estancia implemented, we're in our second year of a 3-phased in, we're in the same position the city of Moriarty is in. We implemented a 3-year, we did a study, had a study done. We implemented a 3-year price increase on our water, garbage, and sewer rates, and we implement a certain percentage of it each year. We just implemented the second phase in August 1st, 2012. The third phase will go into effect August 1st, 2013, in order to bring our enterprise funds so that they were a break-even fund and that the general fund wasn't having to contribute money to cover the loss on the enterprise funds.
And also, if I may add one other item is, and during our cleanup, that's the hardest hit that we take, is during the cleanup.
Yeah.
That's a $4,100 hit, right? $4,100 loss right there.
From the citywide cleanup.
Yes.
Our loss was $5,000 this year on the cleanup. what the town had to pay.
So, yes, we are gonna have to look at that. But like I said, nobody wants to face it, but the true deal is, if you want that to stay out there, we've got to do something. And I'd rather pay a little bit more and have places up to scratch instead of in the county's out.
I agree. We could, Art, you had something?
There's been a problem at the northern station recently, where lots of my neighbors have been turned away because there's a dumping of the bins on Monday, and then they're not getting back in time to service the county customers. And Saturday, Sunday, and Monday are the busiest days at that collection center. Also, I want to make a comment. The board hasn't considered expenditures. And I understand, I don't have concrete material on it, but that there's been some fairly recent salary increases and bonuses given out, and I'm not sure why that's going on. When we're laying off low-paid workers and cutting back on services.
Let me clarify something. I mean, just as far as wage increases, last year, the board came to us and we were disappointed that the salary were increases, but it was due to a union contract. And so the administrative side of the Estancia Valley waived their increase. And so we had expressed to the board and to Mr. Ellis that until the county could give a raise, then we felt that Estancia Valley Waste is perceived as a county operation. And so this year, and I've discussed this at length with the board, Mr. Ellis, that we did grant a 3% across the board. So for the county employees, and they are, I would venture to guess you're still in negotiations with the union.
We are, we go into mediation on the 27th.
Okay,
With
but-
the overdue contract.
But I do know on that level, they are attempting to hold it back and to try to, and I know I've expressed to Mr. Ellis that administration, they need to look at across the board. As far as bonuses, I don't know about bonuses.
I'd like to comment about that.
Yes.
The only bonus that's
Mr.
involved,
Jeff,
is,
go ahead.
is applied to workers, and it's encouragement for safety performance. If the people who work here go by the safety rules and are uninjured, they get the bonus. These are the guys who work out in the field, who do this work. And the outcome of that is that when I came on the board about 4.5 years ago, our insurance rate was somewhere around $70,000. It's now down to about 23 or 24, I think now. So the whole purpose of that bonus was to facilitate a huge savings, which it has done. So that would seem counterproductive for us to make a cut to something. We may have to, but it would seem counterproductive if we cut a bonus that nets us that kind of savings.
So instead of paying the insurance company more, you pay the employees to keep the insurance rates down.
Right, substantially. That's the only bonus in the safe operation. Right? Nothing
Ms.
that-
Hewitt, you had
Oh, I need a little bit more clarification from the board or Mr. Ellis or the commission on this